Welcome back, everyone. 皆さん、お帰りなさい。今日は44日目です。It's day 44. We are getting, today is a review day, right? A review day. Just gonna hop right in. Not too bad yesterday. We had one lesson, which was, I have no idea. I guess we'll find out if it comes back up. It should come back up in this group. Okay, we'll probably end up hitting this too. 506 right now. Yeah, we'll get 15 more. All right. Situate it here. Okay. All right, let's hop in. Well, actually, we screw this up. Left, right, sure, and then, yeah, that's fine. No need to review those. Okay. Oh. Right.
他 気に入る
Hmm. Oh, wait.
毛糸
8.
下がる 100
All right. How many choices do I have here? Seam? I should get used to writing seam, right? To seam. Because that's a Hanzahiro spot point too. I'm pretty sure seam is one of them. Let's see. Can seam. Oh, okay. To seam as well. Okay. Be in sight. Can seam. Okay. 今すぐ
今すぐ
今すぐ今すぐ We're going with to go down. To match to go up. Okay. Yashi. Okay.
見える
やる Okay.
竹
So now next Now next. Now next would be... So now, all, right now, immediately, right? Oops. Started typing opinion there. Whole life, one life. Isho. Isho. So this is going for whole life, all throughout life, right? All throughout life, lifelong. Isho.
一生
Isho. Boy. Oops.
見る
見る
出す
That's Is this one rain? One's rain. Gotta make sure because there might be a mix up. Okay.
休み
Asumi. Let's copy, but what? This read was special? This was a special read. Utsutsu. Utsutsu. What was Utsu again? Utsutsu. Oh, the beatboxer. The beatboxer. That's right. Copying beatboxing.
賛成
Sanse. Ata. Right? Shikata.
仕方
Shikata. Utsusu. Tsutsu.
移す
Utsusu. No, that wouldn't be. So this is not special, right? This is not special. So we have Jo. No, we have Ka. Ate? What else could it be? Huh. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, wait. Opposite of Jozu, right? Jozu, Heta. What was the mnemonic for Heta? How do I get He? Jozu, hmm. Oh, the hater? Wait, what was the hater for?
下手
Don't be a hater. Oh, it's just hater. I don't love all the WaniKani, but this one was good. You're bad at something, so you complain about it. Oh. Yeah, my mnemonic for this one is Jozu. I know how that sounds, but my mnemonic for this is just Jozu. Because Jozu is weird. So Heta is also. It's not really a mnemonic, it's more like a Duolingo thing. Heta was introduced with Jozu, so both of them are linked. A hater, huh? Heta. Man, I do not remember this one. Okay. Oh, there's Jozu. Let me see it. Doing direction method. Oh, is this the lid? Put your dad in the. Oh my goodness.
上手
Jozu. Akachan.
赤ちゃん
Oh. We mainly talk about our Omo the Great. This one stuck out yesterday because it was not the greatest. Right. Omoni.
主に
Okay.
400
I think my top one, it caused me to giggle every time it comes up is nah no ka. Nah no ka was pretty good. Like nah bro, nah no car. Nah no ka. I can actually see myself saying that. Nah no ka. Miseru.
見せる 休む
Yes. No. 下町.
下町
I think I think funny ones are funny. Funny ones sit well a lot more with me. I'm more of a laughing, funny guy. Like liking people make funny things than like emotional or scary or something. I resonate a lot more with funny because I'm not very funny. They're more memorable to me because I don't usually write funny things. And I like reading funny things. The scary or the sussy stuff, I'm like, it's okay. Plenty of those going around. I also like when it's unapologetically funny. Like they're trying really hard to be funny, but it's not funny and it's memorable too. Like if they throw in a bunch of, if Ko start writing all dad jokes, I'm all for it. Maybe out of place, out of time. Different generation. Chuo.
中央
Takenoko.
たけのこ
Myoji.
名字
Ireru.
入れる
Oops.
耳
Mimi. 正しい. 正しい.
正しい
Sorry. I was being a little exaggerated because sometimes I hear that. This one was a little ugh. Just thinking about it makes my skin crawl, so it's legitimately skin crawlingly fun. Okay.
200
I've gotten used to hearing the audio cues now, although it still slightly startles me when I enter it. And it's bit like I was brainstorming because I was stuck, and then if some of the voice samples are slightly tuned higher, so there's a slight variation, but there's a specific tuning that's slightly loud and startles me when I forget that I turned on the audio playback for an entry. I do enjoy hearing it. Confirms things in my head. Wait, just kidding. What was the read on this one? So you did life, right? The brainstorm. So we have birth, give birth, to be born, right? Oh no, wait. This might be. Oh, it's Kiru to live. So this birth. My first inclination. This. So how did the moo part work? If this was. Hmm. I don't the read on this too. Maybe I can get the read. Say it? No. 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 Oh, this is definitely a special one. This is the uni thing, right? So umu is the birth one. Yes, because we're imagining someone giving birth to a not formed yet urchin or uni. Yeah. So what was the mnemonic for? What was the mnemonic for? Ikiru. Oh, Iki life. Yeah.
Ki.
Yeah. Is this our bod? This is our bod with Thai. No heat protection. Shujin.
主人
Still Ta.
た
Aiki.
大気産む
Yeah. Queen. Jo. Oh.
女王
Jo. Oops. Yakuman.
100万
Yakuman.
赤
And
円
been a while since you popped in. How has WaniKani? You're like 900 lessons behind, so this is giving you motivation to clear your reviews. Nice. WaniKani has been alright, you know. Usual thing. We leveled up 2 days ago, so we're on level 5. Today we have about 180 reviews. Pretty typical. I think we're one from the upper limit. Yeah, one stagger from the upper limit. So once we get the upper limit on masters, I mean enlightened, then we know what our upper limit is with our current approach to WaniKani. So the schedule will be lined up. How are you coming along with your 900 lessons behind? Wait, lessons? Is it like a combination of lessons and reviews? That's insane. 900 lessons. If it's all lessons, that's crazy. Oh, okay. I was like 900 lessons. That's I think my brain would explode. Gatsu.
6月
6月.
男の人
Sorry, I was trying to think of where would 900 lessons get you from zero. I don't think I have done 900 lessons yet in the last month. I have. Yeah, I don't think I crossed 900 lessons yet.
Ikki
男の子.
男の子
Feet, right? Float. But same but different for this one. Gotta brainstorm about this one. So we're thinking about to be enough. Sufficiency, right? Thinking sufficiency. If we're thinking about sufficiency, we're thinking about tacos. So tariru. Tacos. Tacos. No.
足りる
So one energy. You've been trying to work more on grammar lately? Yeah. Sounds about right. Your vocabulary was outpacing your abilities to make sentences. That is certainly a thing. You know. So how's your grammar thing going? One energy, one breath. Okay. Still sticking on the phone. Going well. It's humbling. Went back to your Genki textbook and making sure you don't cut corners. Very easy to take shortcuts and self-study. Indeed. Yeah. Discipline, due diligence. Is it... How do you feel about... Is it refreshing to go back? Now that your have your vocabulary affected how like did it impact you going back to Genki with your vocabulary? I find sometimes there's opportunities where holistic motivation is incredibly significant for people. So when you're doing something and you're taking a break, but you're doing something else related to an overall goal, and you come back to it, it provides another sense of motivation. You think it did? It's much easier to focus on grammar when you're not also trying to learn the new vocabulary along the way. Yeah. Nope. That sounds fantastic. Now that do you feel like you're gonna take another break from grammar? Grammar has this really wonderful multi-purposeness to it, as opposed to like vocabulary. Right. Now you get to use all your fancy vocabulary every time you learn a new way to form a sentence, you know, or new things about sentences. You're going with. Am I gonna get bopped for writing book? I don't think so, right? Okay. You think it means you will have to juggle the ebb and flow of WaniKani and textbook study for the foreseeable future? Yeah. That sounds very reasonable. And also probably have to take into account the disproportionate return on investment, because rules, concepts like grammar are less, on a different scale, a different magnitude, and different practice than vocabulary. It'll be interesting to see how you ebb and flow between them. Sounds like you have a working strategy. Or a developing strategy. Ore. So thanks, but formal. Way of C. Effective, right? Ore.
俺
Ore. Umare.
生まれ
How far are you in the Genki textbook? You covered most of your fundamentals already, I imagine. I can't spell convenience. Convenience. uh,
花
Kata.
味方
Oh, no. Mika. Mi. Mika. Mikagetsu. Ne? No, Mikas. Mikazuki. Zuki. Mikazuki. You've been through 1 and 2 in the past, but since you restarted, you're not going through lesson 7 and doing the workbook exercises and being more intentional. Oh, now going through. Okay. Right, Mikazuki. Thank God for WaniKani's flexibility about the miswriting. You made a lot of mistakes while writing fast. Also, English is not your main language. That's understandable. I actually think it could be a little bit more flexible in that department. Are you talking about the reaction to convenience? Yeah. I can't spell a lot of words. Like beggar. Not that. Wait, is beggar one of these? Yeah, beggar. Sometimes I use an E, sometimes I use an A. I'll let you determine where where the E and the A gets mixed up.
三日月
And I have been told there's a script to make it a little even more flexible, so that's kind of nice. I'm okay with whatever is here for the time being. Use.
不正
じゃあ There's some great quality of life browser extension, especially the mark as correct button, as long as you don't abuse it. Yeah. The two that I looked at that I might install a little bit later when I go back is probably going to be pitch curves and stroke order. Those are the only information that I kind of like to see again visually. Most of the time I rely on my ears though. And then I rely on my hand and ears. Largely because both are pretty well trained at.
Akai.
Okay. Many go out to the evening and get pelted by tacos from the sky, raining tacos. I think this is a special case for all.
O.
Formal. You haven't tried any scripts yet. What you've tried was the dark mode though, some Chrome plugin. Yeah. That plugin had some point fool your YouTube history with some kind of oh, that sounds like some unintentional maybe some unintended malware. Someone recently posted a nice dark mode. Nico. Someone made a very streamlined, minimalistic dark mode as a script for WaniKani. They just recently posted in the thread, so you could check if that's nice, and then you can go ahead and try that as the first script. It was just posted, I think, 2 days ago, if not yesterday. Looks really nice. They had screenshots and all that.
500
500月見月見 yeah
月見
月見 Oops. There is one thing I might turn on and off in terms of scripts is pairing and not pairing. The meaning and reading order. Which I quite like turning on and off in Hanzahiro, which is part of the app settings. Iponji. Ipongi. Pongi. No? Yeah, Ipongi.
一本木
Ipongi. Hanabi.
花火
Hanabi. Man. Too high on the first one. Hanabi. Wakaru.
わかる
Wakaru. Okay. Why are you rye? Oh, the rye. The rye bread. Wolverine. Ashi.
足
Tomaru. I typed Tomeru there. Ah!
止まる
Imamade. Ah! Oh my gosh, I keep typing Mo. Stop. Imamade.
今まで
Aku. Until now? Was that acceptable as an interpretation of this? Until now? Probably. Amade. From up till now? Maybe up till now? I think until now. We typed until now a couple times. Amade. Yeah, I think until now. What were our other choices? Up till now. Oh, up till now works. Oh, so far. That's a good one.
Ito.
Murabito.
村人
I can lip ring. Shiro?
白
Shiro. Okay, going down. Shiro. Shiro. How do you spell villager? Make sure not to spell angel instead of angle, right? Caterpillar. Oh wait, kidding. Shigatsu.
4月
Shigatsu. Oh, first. Shigatsu. Hmm. Tateru.
立てる
Tateru. 100%, 106. We're reviewing though, so that's probably why. Most of this is review. And we're not going for speed because of the way WaniKani is designed. When I'm doing Hanzehiro, it's irrelevant of mistakes, so I typically keep like a 90%. I go as quickly as possible, but not drop below 90%. It's different feel. Because of the WaniKani soft gates using the kanji characters, right? The kanji, I am deliberate and much slower. Just double check all the time. When I'm speaking, it's not like this. When I'm speaking and reading, about 90%. I don't have to go like 100%, right? That's when it comes to this type of thing. Yes. Hanzahiro's for Chinese. Yep, for Mandarin, and it uses a different approach. But like the idea is still similar, where it's an SRS using mnemonics, but the way Kevin uses mnemonics and how the SRS is done in Hanzahiro promotes freely doing making errors and stuff. When I speak and read, usually I go as low as 80%. So if I'm ever making a sentence and you have like 10 words, there's often a chance at least one or two of the 10 words may be a little bit off or reading and speaking, largely because that is more the norm when it comes to using a language you're learning, even English, right? Actually, most of the time you're speaking, it's not necessarily grammatically correct. Actually, lots of times, most of the people who type in chat and speak, whenever I hear them, they aren't speaking grammatically correct things. So I try not to mix the two too much. When you're trying to speak and read, you're trying to capture the ideas. Those are the essential points. But since WaniKani is designed this way, I'm being very careful and deliberating, largely because it works with the system as opposed to against. And in Hanzahiro, I'm just blitzing, like feel it, put it in. 1 out of 10 times I'll get something wrong, like a little bit off, but it goes into the mistakes. Then at the end of the session, I can correct those mistakes with as much time as I can, largely because that's how typically I'm a little bit closer to the Hanzahiro design, so I'm slowly adapting to how Ko is doing things. Now, you can say, oh, but scripts will fix that. It's like, well, I'm not really interested in how I want to do things. I'm more interested in how I best do it in different ways that other people think it should be done. So as much as scripts go, I don't want to affect the way it works. The two scripts that I want to add is to add more information. And information is kind of like the internet. You want to know the information if you want to know the information. How you interact with the information is the most important thing to me. Like how the information is acquired and interact. Like I wouldn't pay WaniKani not to know that, right? The information in WaniKani is free everywhere. Like you can get the information on Japanese in any way possible. Heck, you can even do it in Anki, which is very similar. You can even model your Anki experience right after in WaniKani. But that's usually not what I'm paying for, right? So for better or for worse, obviously some people can say, well, what if the tool that you're learning is terrible? And it's like, well, them's the, what is it? What is that idiom? Them's the breaks or something. I don't know how to use idioms very well in English. But that's how the dice do be rolling. Yeah. So for me, I don't typically aim to alter anything mechanically. It's kind of like playing a video game and you're like, this boss behaves differently and these controls behave differently. I actually play with default controls. There are a few cases where I switch the control because I have maybe like a physical limitation or like something, but I kind of just like what people think. And then afterwards, after I'm done with the thing, I'm like, oh yeah, so how do I demonstrate doing this my way or something like that? And it will be like it allows me to take in what other people think, and then I can modify it myself with the way I do things. So I'm doing other things on top of WaniKani, like at the end of WaniKani or at the beginning of WaniKani's session, I'm doing things that I like to do that I find that is a bit missing in WaniKani. Not a bad thing, just not part of the design, in my opinion. So in order to not interrupt the thing. It's kind of fun playing by people's rules when you spend most of the time playing outside the rules. Funny enough, the way people learn, they like to break rules. And then when they play video games, they like to obey the rules as a form of accolade. I think it's a really funny thing that I observed about especially younger people. They like playing video games by the rules, and it's cheating when you have a fourth wall perspective on the game because those were unfair advantages. But then when they go to learn something, they dislike it when they can't break the rules to learn in their best way. It's a funny thing. I haven't talked about this in a while because I haven't played video games in a while, but I like playing by people's rules because most of the time I am observing outside of the rules, right? Like play by the rules and then learn by shortcuts. Exactly. It's not a bad or a good thing because obviously these people become very successful, right? They learn still by their way, but they take shortcuts when it's not as fun. So I feel like that's probably the double standard here. When they think they're learning, it's often not perceived as fun, but a job, like an obligation. But when they're playing something, it's fun by default. So then they're okay with playing by the rules. Like it's celebrated that FromSoft, for example. I like using FromSoft games as an example. If you're playing by the rules, right? In fact, they not only play by the rules, they make even more restrictive rules to make it so that it's even more impressive, as opposed to adding more shortcuts to make it less impressive, right? So for example, in FromSoft, no magic runs. Even though the rules by FromSoft's design permit you to use magic, it is an unspoken rite of passage to use to play without magic, even though it's part of the rules. So it's kind of like WaniKani. If you take WaniKani to make it more impressive, you use less scripts, right? But instead, it's the opposite because this is learning now. It's not supposed to be fun. Learning is unfun. So you want to break the rules and add on more things to make it less fun, to make it less arduous. So I think that's a really funny funny little thing that I observe younger people do, which makes sense. I mean, I was young once, right? Did the same thing. You try to use shortcuts and boost efficiency to do things you don't want to do, and then you play by the rules when you enjoy it, like soccer, American football, tennis. And then here, oftentimes when I think of what are the advantages, what are types of games where you have the most advantages by not having to play by the rules? What I mean is you have more than just the rules. Typically, metagames. Any game that's sufficient and being susceptible to metagaming. So deck builders, Magic the Gathering, like any type of building things, you're carrying all the shortcuts with you. So when you're playing a deck builder, game theory goes a long way to giving you an unfair advantage, right? Legacy, any type of legacy. Fighting games tend to have a lot of legacy carriage. FromSoft games have quite a lot of legacy skills. So those are outside of the rules. But I don't think it's viewed that way. That when you come into a game and you're not on your training wheels anymore, you're not from zero, as in this isn't your first game in the series, you are breaking the rules, technically, because you brought in skills that you're not allowed to have. So, life, target language. This is life, by the way. Yes, most certainly I don't use WaniKani the way other people use WaniKani, but here we are. I'll still try to play by the rules just to see if I can learn anything from it, right? It's a balance, right? It's a balance. You can be very, very good running with 2 legs, but have you tried running with 1 leg? So, it's a fun little exercise, right? So you have to hop on 1 leg the same distance that you run on 2 legs. You're gonna end up being creative. You're gonna have to try different ways. Like, if someone told me I had to run on 1 leg, no one told me that my other leg, I could use something in place of my other leg, right? Like, no one told me that kind of thing. This is where creativity comes in, and that's born to scripts, right? The WaniKani scripts are an example. It's like, well, it's too restrictive. Let's break the rules. Using spells in Souls games is like checking your reading meaning in WaniKani when you barely hit the meaning and reading. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, that's fair. I think I think my analogy would be using spells is like choosing. So if your mechanic is to understand what the meaning and the reading of a character is, using spells is like pretending mnemonics doesn't exist. And that playing without spells is like trial and error. You guess at the read and it'll tell you the right read eventually, as long as you stare at it long enough, because the boss is going to give you the read and the meaning. So you sit there and stare at the character and listen to the thing, but you decided like, I'll use a spell. It's like, oh hey, I have other tools to help me with the meaning and the reading. Let's say getting hit is every mistake. So let's see a mistake tracker. And then watching the boss is akin to the explainer, the literal explainer. Mnemonics is spells, so it's a lesser form of cool impressiveness. Because if you do all of this by rote memory, that's without mnemonics. Spells is a much more efficient, convenient shortcut to providing and understanding the meaning and reading, because the meaning in reading is the end result, which is defeating the boss, not the process of it. The process of the boss fight is how you get to the meaning in reading. So there are many ways to get to the meaning in reading by beating the boss. The boss represents the meaning in reading. The nature of you finding out what that meaning in reading is of the boss to be successful is the process. And spells is one of the process of getting to the meaning in reading, which could be something that's perceived as easier. So in WaniKani's context, it would be the mnemonics. The mnemonics would be the easier approach. The harder approach and more impressive approach would be to use all rote memory. There's straight up rote memory. Level 1, unupgraded, level 1 runs. Rote memory. Flat out. No context clues, no nothing. You hit, you trial and error until you bash your head through and get the meaning in reading. Full stop. That's probably how I would go about the analogy. Do I use mnemonics? I always use mnemonics. When I play a FromSoft game, I use all the tools that are available. Because much like WaniKani, I use all the tools that are available. Nothing less, nothing more. So, if FromSoft offers me spells, I use spells. Right? I use all of it. You know, dash a little spell, do some physical things, experiment with tools. That's the experience for me. I neither try to break the rules nor try to shortcut the rules. Like, add more rules. Sorry. I neither add more rules nor subtract more rules. Yeah. So if we take that little impression and use WaniKani, then I use WaniKani to the best of my ability without breaking them. Until I'm done with the game, quote unquote, until I'm done with the task, which is arbitrary, by the way. It's an arbitrary endpoint. Then I can decide if I want to mess around and willy-nilly integrate my own thing, right? Like a puzzle game. You can modify a puzzle game afterwards, but you can't change the rules in a puzzle game. You can break the rules. What does that sound like? Oh yeah, that's right. That sounds like having a dictionary next to you while using WaniKani. I like puzzle games, by the way. Puzzle games are a riot.
手
Flat energy. Right, flat energy. Are we doing heiki? Yeah.
平気
天気
Heiki. Flat energy. What is flat energy? Oh, weather energy. Or energy. MC? ね? 毛虫。
毛虫
うまい。
うまい
Wow, he's so much deeper there. Okay. Shortage. Not sufficient. Wheat. What was the wheat thing? Oh, to get mugged? Mugi. Bill plate. Bill Sara. Wait. Ooh. No. Fusho. No. Efficient. I think this one is the weird one, right? This is definitely one of the weird ones. Go over all of my reads. It's gotta be Fu. Oh, wait, we're using Onyomi. So, Onyomi for, for sufficient. I mean, yeah, for sufficient and foot. We, I don't think this has a special rule. It's Soku for sock, right? Soku. Soku.
不足
I immediately thought, yeah. Of course it's yeah. Ski.
月
Nihongo jozu. By the way, what level are you on, Marks? How long have you been like hitting up that WaniKani while you're like ebb and flowing? How are you doing with that stuff? Sore? Ne? Sore? You're only level 16? That sounds like amazing. What is your relationship with WaniKani? Up to this point.
貝
Couple years? Love-hate relationship? You whisper sweet nothings to WaniKani every once in a while? Wait. Can I type skillful for this? Umai. Umai. I think so, right? Wait till we get Tokui. Oh, thanks, Nico. You made it on the Twitch side. I appreciate the consistency in handle names. Wait, are we going with moon or month here? Okay, we're going with moon. Yeah, you tend to go hard and then take long breaks. Went from level 1 to 7ish, break, then 7 to 11, then grind hard to where you need to stop taking long breaks. WaniKani doesn't have vacation stuff, right? By default, you need a script for that. Aw, thank you, Nico. Appreciate the Prime sub. Oh, you have an Amazon Prime account. 平日
平日
その他 the others. Wait. What is acceptable here? This might have a synonym problem, right? Sono hoka might have a synonym problem because if I put in people, the others people, that might get a nab. So we'll stick with the others. Wait, Mura.
村
You could use a vacation mode, but you're not technically on vacation, just lazy. Oh, okay, okay. Hey, whatever keeps yourself honest. I think, hear me out here. I'm not trying to be a terrible enabler of laziness, but if your brain is taking a vacation, give yourself a vacation, you know? Again, not enabling complacency, not trying to enable complacency. But since you're not technically on vacation, you can also make the argument you're technically on vacation up here, right? And provided you have scheduling, like intent, right? If you schedule when to take breaks, that's a technical vacation up here. So, lazy, it's not exactly the same as laziness where you're choosing to take a break when you didn't plan to take a break. So, if you choose to say, oh yeah, today I'm going to meditate for like 2 hours and veg out, that's intent of taking a vacation. Laziness might be more of a, I didn't intend to take a break, but here I am lazing around, right? Which people indulge in various degrees. I was just talking to Gecko the other day that when I go on vacation, my energy level goes up as opposed to it goes down. You aim to clear your reviews out by the weekend? Very nice. What day is it? What day of the week for me? Ooh. 900, huh? That's, 900. That sounds like one day's work. You got this. Piece of cake. Piece of cake. You got this.
元気
大丈夫です。はい、大丈夫です。Oh yeah, this one sounds weird. I feel like this is a naughty word. Honky.
本気
Well, did you know that doesn't mean anything remotely sussy? Oh, this is a kozara.
小皿
Special one, kozara. Okay. Heijitsu. Flat days. Flat days are weekdays. Oh, how I long to see you. The traditional character is whack. Guess we're going with Zoo.
その他
No hoka. Oh, this was from yesterday. Hokajin. Ne? Not Hokajin. Hakujin. No, just kidding. Hokani. Oh, wait. Hold up. I screwed this up the other day, didn't I? That's not Hokahito. Ta? Tanin? Because the other person stole my tacos in Nintendo. They stole my heckin' tacos in Nintendo. I haven't tried vacation mode, but you've got like 800 exercise to do at some point on December. I guess it was like a day and a half vacation at least. Oh, okay. I will be taking. I have an annual thing to do, so we'll see how I'll find out how I decide to go approach it then. But I will most likely not be doing this consecutively. I have other obligations that were established well before
他人
well before WaniKani and Hanzahiro. So we'll see how when we get closer what I decide to adapt to. Koinu.
子犬
Koinu. Tadasu.
正す
Tadasu. Wait, wait. This one, I think I've gotten mixed up before. So, can I write other people for this one? Or do we stick to others? Or no, I know what. Yeah, this one we can't write others, pretty sure. And it has to have people in it. So it's another person who stole my taco and Nintendo, right? Not that I differentiate between them that much in practice. um Genki. Yo. Diamond. Danai.
車内
Danai. Danai. Agaru.
上がる
2月。
2月
2月。1月。Oops.
1月
月。I got bought by this every once in a while, largely because of the largely because of an overlap between Chinese and Japanese with nuance differences. Flat. That's Tyra. Of all the things, that's Tyra. Tyra Banks. Flat. I don't know where Ko was going with that, but that was a little sus. I Narwhal, Eugene.
友人
Kibun.
気分
Kakigori.
かき氷
Gori. Tyra, so Tyra.
平ら
Go up. Ana.
穴
Alright, so let's do our 15, right? Let's do our 15 here. Kuruma.
車
Hanami. Hanami. Hanami.
花見
Scooter. Or do holiday. Ninki.
人気
20. Wait. Is this different? It's not Nichi. I think we're using the other. E? No wait. Leader resting Q. Q-jitsu? Yeah, 2 cucumbers, right? Q-jitsu.
休日
Cucumbers, 2 cucumbers. Oh, yeah. Hakujin.
白人
This method works because I still remember most of these. Nice. That's good to know. I'm glad it works for you, girl. Shi,
虫
otoko,
男
2世
ise. Rest, stop, pause. Cucumber? Are we cucumbering this? But you're still not at the level where you can read a light novel or newspaper? Time. You got time. How long have you been, what kind of light novel are you trying to read or newspaper? Have you tried the simplified NHK site? So we have resting a cucumber and she. Yushi. And that's pause, right? I think suspension is available for both of it. In the middle, using chew and then Q. Q and chew can both mean suspension. Yushi.
休止
Oops. Bay. Right, yes. I kerfuffled this yesterday. A bit of a kerfuffle. Migite.
右手
Oh, we just finished our WaniKani stuff today. So going pretty well. Good morning, Chern. That's a good site for reading practice. Nice. So then you're saying you're familiar with that? Can you not read that one though? Yeah, usually after our peak day, our peak day, the lesson day is all done in one day. So it was 2 days ago. So usually in the third day, shouldn't be making any mistakes. Like if I'm making repeated mistakes, which hasn't really happened yet, like consecutive mistakes, that's a problem.
so we will have to address it. But that hasn't occurred yet with WaniKani. The second day after lesson day, right, level up day, can be a little rough. But this time we only had 2 errors, so it was relatively okay. And then by the third day, those errors should go away. If they continue to persist, that's a problem. That's a problem on my end, really. So naturally, we're expecting the next like 2 days, right? There's gonna be there's gonna be some lessons tomorrow because these are gonna be filled in, and then the following day we'll have some lessons. But it's usually unlock days are the days where there's a potential error. But today it's all review. Almost all of it is review. Yesterday was almost all review too. There was only 1 lesson. So whenever after a lesson, there's a chance that can be incorrect. Other than that, I already most of this vocabulary actually is covered by Duolingo. So technically, we have to keep in mind that 300 days of Duolingo does present vocabulary. So not everything is new. The way they write the things is new, though. So that could present a problem. The way they define things can be slightly different than the way I define things by reading examples and then figuring it out myself. I don't typically read grammar. So Mark and Jarrell and maybe some other people would have an emphasis on constructively reading sentences with explicit information. But generally speaking, I do it in the reverse. I observe something, deduce what it means, and then go and double check the stuff, as opposed to the other way around. So none of these, since I started self-studying, none of the methods that I've used currently is the current method that I use to learn anymore. I've largely because I'm more used to the end game learning strategies, largely because I haven't learned something in which it impacts my learning yet. So learning a language is very refreshing because my language is impacting my ability to learn, as opposed to like it's a mechanical thing that's impacting my thing. But it's not to the extent, because I still have English and I leverage English the way I leverage observational testing. So in my life, I've reached a point in education where I had to learn, test, and observe something that no one else knows, right? That's the whole point of going to graduate school and going down a path of PhD. You're trying to integrate information, but nearly all of your wisdom and your knowledge that you're presenting is coming from observational skills. So if a person haven't reached that stage in collection yet, they typically don't learn by that. So typically the type of learning that I would say more than 90% of the world population learn by is by explicit nature. Things that you're familiar with in school, like textbooks, people providing you with the information. And that's most of how many people prefer that. Now, when you become a craftsman and a specialist, there is often a chance, like in that 10%, right? In that 10%, you are paving your roads and pioneering and relying solely on observation. And I'm not saying I do this all the time. I don't really always do this all the time. The idea is you don't engage in these skills if you're never placed in a situation where you don't have information, as in someone can't explain this to you. Every human being does encounter this though. For example, when you're sad, if you feel like no one can help you with your sadness, then you have to find that way yourself, right? A lot of people can provide you with a lot of information. Like I can tell you, hey, this is when I'm sad and I do these things to make myself less sad. Now it's up to you to observe other people who are sad and what information they give and then be able to use those observations to create a method in which you can make yourself less sad. So in life, in my opinion, one of the most difficult questions to answer, like the meaning of life, for example, those require skills that involve observational skills. So with that said, most of the time when I'm learning grammar, it's because it's the consequence of observing something and I want to explain it. So I try to explain it first before I go and look. And in case you're wondering, what does that look like? That actually looks like Duolingo. So Duolingo, yes, does not work for people who need explainers, who needs to explain things. There are a lot of things Duolingo can't do as well because they just simply don't do it by design, like teach advanced stuff because they choose not to, right? There's also the element of when someone says it's teaching you nothing. Observational skills and learning through observational skills, I would agree. For the vast majority of people, that will be considered not teaching. It's you're learning by observation. So for me, I agree with people when they say things like that do not teach anything. Much like playing a video game, it doesn't necessarily, it kind of teach you things when they explain stuff, but when it doesn't explain stuff, you're learning by observation, right? So it's a combination of the two. And in that case, that's what Duolingo strikes. They explain some stuff here and there, but most of the stuff, your natural curiosity, it's required that you have natural curiosity to want to learn those things. In WaniKani, it's explanatory. So I should expect that I don't make mistakes because it's self-explanatory, at least in my opinion. Not that other people might have problems with that and whatnot. I have problems because it holds my hand too much. So WaniKani, when I make mistakes, is because I was being too laxed. I was being too loose. Everything's explained for me. So to me, it's less interesting for my learning. However, that doesn't mean I can't practice and learn this way. I don't by default learn this way. I don't by default learn the way Duolingo does in a different way, but the way Duolingo presents information, that's the way I learn by observation. However, the way Duolingo scheduled and stuff and how it's like mapped out and all that, I don't learn that way either. I learn to adapt Duolingo as well. So WaniKani, this to me is probably, for lack of a better word or lack of a better thing, like phrase, I learned like this when I was 10 years old. Like maybe a little less than 10 years old. And the moment I entered high school, I stopped learning this way. So it's a really, really fun thing to rekindle the old thing of like giving you all the information and then your choice, you do your best to try to memorize it, right? Vocabulary is incredibly addictive, right? Addictive, and there's a lot of dopamine involved because the only task you have to do is remember what is presented to you. And if it's wrong, what do? You complain that the information is incomplete, as opposed to going to find the information and find what you're looking for and problem solve that way. It is the tool's job to provide you with all the information to get the right answer. And for me, I spent most of my entire life engaging in a different form of problem solving, in which you do not have all the information. You can only come to close conclusions or deductions based on incomplete information. The internet has removed that sense of need anymore. Is that fun to do? It's fun for me. I don't think it's fun for a lot of people who don't do this very often, right? Like, I think the biggest renaissance in video games was probably FromSoft because they lean a little bit. It's like 60-40, right? 60% of the time they have all the texts and all that stuff to explain stuff. And then 40% of the time, which like boss battles and stuff, it's kids and adults alike get used to it. They enjoy that. You have no like explicit information. You're just wandering around and suddenly like I have no idea what's going on. And you get bopped in the head like 10 or 20 times, and then you've learned to discover using your observational skills. So the game technically taught you it because someone designed that experience to funnel you into it. So when you have visual cues and audio cues, someone designed it in a manner that you can succeed because they've given you enough cues. However, when you're observing things in reality, like if no one else knows what you're doing, there are times when you just can't explain everything. The thing you can do is you explain it to the best of your ability, knowing that perspective or that interpretation may not be correct, right? It might even be erroneous in the future. The idea is you're trying to create the best explanation to a thing you're observing that no one knows the answer to. So one of the things that I often say when we're talking about self-study and whatnot is it's lovely that people can self-study now because they're expecting everything to be explained to them. When I think of self-study, this is like a generational gap thing. In science, like in research, when you're self-studying, you're trying to discover something to an answer that isn't answered before. And when you self-study, you're trying to integrate information that exists in order to create new information. In this case, self-study is you're taking information and you're treating it like a classroom, which makes sense. It's like going to school and having all the information given to you and you're memorizing. So that's self-memorizing. I'm not entirely sure if people are actually learning about learning, but it is acquiring knowledge. So, for example, one of the downsides or one of the shortcomings you might imagine about WaniKani is if it's not there, then you can't possibly learn it, right? Which is not technically true. However, it may feel like it's true for 9 out of 10 people. Largely because if it's not there, you can't imagine it to exist. So, for example, do you see sentences when you see these characters? You don't. However, if you do have sentence training already, like if you read Genki textbook or know how to form sentences in your native language, then you can imagine a time in which you can sit here and stare at these characters and you can combine the two. Not that I'm doing it right here. It's a little bit of a stretch, so I do my sentence formation elsewhere. But the idea is there was a time when this is all the information you're given. And how do you create a sentence from all of this? It can be very hard, right? However, it could look very different than the Japanese language. You might be able to create meaning without even knowing the Japanese constructs, like the constructions of the sentence. You can like say combine, how do you say in English, how do you say how do you say gold or say anything? You could write say and add anything, right? That's an observation. If you already know that this means say, you can technically construct an English translated sentence out of just the radicals. It's not like it's correct. It's not like it's supposed to reflect the Japanese language. The idea is, are you making these connections? Rarely do I feel that people think on a creative level. So oftentimes when you think of mnemonics, right? Mnemonics, That is what mnemonics is. You're creating associations and seeing patterns, ways to connect things that aren't there. Like they're not meant to be correct and or explicit to what exists. The idea is you're creating your own rules and associations. So that's kind of one of the things that I think sometimes when people learn, they may not necessarily also learn how to learn. Why do these things work? Do you understand? Like, do you ask yourself, when someone says, "Oh, this works for me," right? Like Jarrell mentioned that, and their output is, "Oh, I still remember this," so the method actually works. But how does the how does the method work for you? Why does it work for you? That's a very different practice than saying the outcome tells me it works. That is like reading a scientific article and going to the conclusion and say, oh, this worked for those people and therefore it worked, as opposed to understanding how the method works and what the principles are behind the method. That is explaining things in ways that in the future, when you're self-studying and you're asking yourself, does this work for me? How do you measure that? It's not because you still remember something in the outcome. That rarely ever informs how or why it works. Like, you do not measure how it works. You're often focused on a result as a process of it working. So it's one of those things that when someone asks, is there a reason ever to go back to your foundations or your basics? Yes. Not for the necessarily for the content, but for the ability to use that content differently. So when Mark mentioned he's Mark is ebb and flowing between Genki and WaniKani, my first question I asked him is it different this time, right? Has something changed? Largely because that awareness can lead to a productive, integrated experience than saying, oh yeah, I'm just reviewing old stuff, so I should already know all this old stuff, so when I review it the second time, I get the same output. That is a little bit rate limiting. Like, you can definitely learn a lot of things when someone gains new experience, right? What happened between you and the last break? You had a break, right? Or you studied something else. So bring that other thing into what you're doing now. You are not a person who has to play by the rules when it comes to learning. Your body, your mind is an accumulation of all the experiences you can use. So it can be as dynamic and as different as you're going. Trying to compartmentalize this stuff is a way to limit your creativity, right? That's something cool about Japanese. You can play to infer what something means by watching the kanji, even if you don't know how the accurate reading. Yes. And I encourage this because even if this doesn't teach you how to create a sentence, you'd be surprised how well it works as a mnemonic to understanding Japanese sentences. In fact, they might actually become shortcuts as you're going. So, does Duolingo work in a different way? Actually, that's how Duolingo works. What I just described is how Duolingo works. For those who like to think that way. If they don't like thinking that way, then it's not going to work, right? If you get a blanket sentence, right? The first thing is like some sentences. If you cannot break them up and see the patterns, then yeah, you need something to explain it to you. Then that's how it works. Also, when you first went through Genki, it was like seeing everything in a different color. And now that I've learned more sentence structure and vocabulary, going back through it is more black and white, much easier to spot the gaps in your knowledge. That's fine. Yeah. That's still doing, yeah. I hope you see that, yeah. That's still confining yourself to the content itself. However, that's great that now it's no longer different colors, it's black and white. I'm actually doing the opposite. here. The point I was making is that most things are not black and white when you're learning things about yourself. It's usually like very colorful. So it's neat that when you first learn Genki, everything is in a different color. I don't see everything as black and white here. I see everything as colorful. That's probably the opposite of what you wanted to hear, but it's helpful that it's helpful to know that you like things to be clear and concise. I typically am doing the opposite. Like, what can I do that is not clear and precise about this? Because what's clear and precise is easy to remember, which is fine. When you get through and think about that, that's pretty much it, right? I don't think you can avoid that. Gotta start somewhere. I think you're missing the point, but yeah, I don't. You're not okay. Hold up. Good morning, Mattia. Or good evening. Sorry, good evening. And hello, Gecko. I think you're missing my point. Was more of an observation that when you review all, it becomes more clear. It can become more clear for other people. I don't think I'm missing anything. I'm agreeing with you. At least I think. No, probably not. So when you're reviewing old material, so I'm suggesting something on top of what you're suggesting. But when you when you first look at something, you're trying to achieve black and whiteness, right? Because there's no resolution. However, when you do something else, it could still be black and white, right? This is something else. When you revisit, so we'll call this black and white prime. When you take this experience you have and you look back on something else that's black and white, they become red and blue or green and yellow. It's transformative. It's the opposite mindset. However, it can be viewed the way you view it, which is which is the other way around. So, you want black and white. So you're saying the opposite perspective of me. The opposite perspective is it's very colorful at first because you can't make sense of it, but you wanted it to be black and white. So you want it to be simple and clarified, and then you get that. You might get that somewhere else too. You want them to be concise, make sense, and then when you go back, this colorful thing becomes black and white, as in it's clear, it's it's very clear, marked, and whatnot. That is being correct, right? And that's great. That happened. I think most people do that. Most people think of the correct ways, the right ways, right? And I do that too. I agree. The point I was making was not this point. It was the opposite. So what do you do after this? What do you do when everything's black and white? You make it colorful again. Because all your experiences together breathes color. So when you're doing this like 100 times over, right? At some point, it's going to become black and white. Black and white is inherently boring. But it can be rewarding at first. Because if it was too confusing, it would be rewarding at first. I see this stuff as black and white, which is where we agree, I suppose, where you think about. But the last points I was making in the last 30 minutes is I'm trying to make this black and white colorful. So what is black and white about this element? It's say. That is black and white. It's say. You want to type say for this. But if I put say next to gold, which are two black and white elements, right? Say and gold. Does that mean that, could that mean something like to say gold? As in the sentence, say gold, for example. This is colorful. As in, I'm not sure if this is right or not. Or can I even do that? That is taking your observations of something that's black and white and creating something new that is colorful again. That was my point. So we're using the metaphor that you wanted to use. It's the opposite point. So like, for example, I will use a more reality one that people will encounter. So these are black and white. This is a circle. This is a circle. This is a rectangle. Right? Is this all you see? If this is all you see, you're at the black and white stage. Right? What I see is a face. This is colorful. You might be wondering, well, that's not what... Some people might disagree what a face looks like. Yeah, faces come in different shapes, different combinations. So it's no longer black and white. It's no longer black and white. It's colorful again. Right? So when you're thinking about a body, right? Let's make a body. These are all primitive shapes. You could say black and white. These are only circles, rectangles, and polygons for only four-sided shapes. Four-sided shapes and a circle. There's circles. So you could say it's black and white. Black and white is that these are made of primitive shapes. But someone could say this is a human being or a human body. And I created this out of black and white components. So this is called the creative process. And I genuinely believe that the large majority of people who self-study, especially those who are inexperienced, as in they don't do anything professionally yet. Not that they have to. You don't really have to. You don't enter the creative process. You don't view things that can be transformative or lead to things bigger than it is, right? So for me, when I think about reviews, I'm reviewing black and white things. However, when I'm reviewing the things, like the act of reviewing, I'm thinking about colorful things. Things that I could do differently, or things that are happening right now that I can change in my head, in my headspace. So that's kind of cue the stereotypical, right? Cue the stereotypical thought that I can't draw. For example, if you're one of those people that immediately say, I am not creative enough. I am not creative enough to draw, then probably still at the black and white phase of things. Things are as they are. Like, for example, if you can't draw a tree, you're thinking about the tree that you see, right? The really complicated tree. But this is also a tree too. Right? This can also be a tree. Or you can put like a cliff. These can also seem like trees outside the cliff. That's pretty much what I mean. Okay, just to be clear, right? Anyways, examples of creativity. Okay, that's it. Oh wait, no, that's not it. We have to go over our harmonics. Let's go over harmonic. Oh, by the way, Mattia, the guy, I forgot to mention that yesterday, Mattia, when you guys were talking about sports, but I listened to the one song by Adriano Celentano Celentano. That song is wild and it's language learning related. I like it. So there's this guy Antonio, I think his name was Antonio Celentano. Classic person. Was it a 70s song? It was a 70s song. And it's this person, he sings with gibberish, basically. But the gibberish sounds like English. And I totally see where they were coming from. And the song is, it has a very Elvis Presley like appeal. But this is a classical Italian singer. Or like a, not classic, but like old Italian singer. And Mattia mentioned this before, and it was really interesting. It's one of those things like you think it's English, it sounds like English, but it's gibberish. There's nothing to it, right? And the song plays to a beat that is very recognizable and very Americana, actually, interesting enough. Or you could say British rock-ish, old school. Yeah. Hopefully that clarifies things. I think I agree with you on getting clarity first, though. Getting clarity. Mark. Alright, so let's go over this. Tsunami, Coffin, Wolverine, 20, Meat, Self, Color, Go, West, Mustache, Scooter, Axe, Pig, Say, Gold, Rain, Blue. Oh wait, this was Mustache. This is Lip Ring. Sorry. Saw. Not Saw. Key. Run. Village. Meat. I can meet Lantern. Feathers. Viking. Kick. Okay. So now we're gonna do the mnemonics of this stuff. Okay. Kyoto. 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 Let's get heat. Heat. Father. Ko. Ko jump in the Piceratops. Not whirlpool. Kayak. Kayak. Taco. The heck was my? Oh, mice. Mice. Substitute. What was happening with substitute? Die. A. I. Attach to the body. Zoo. Oh, this is the ko. E. Die again. Not the dying. The dying clothing aspect. Rye. Shaman. Angle. Oh. Cock your head, 40 degrees. I can co of all the words. Tanny. Mug. Haya. Shi. Explicit. Aku. Sa. I don't. That was an onomatopoeia, right? Yeah. I don't. We'll just. I don't know how to say other than kusa. We'll write in romaji, I suppose. And then onion. It's right on the head, so that's fine. On the head ones work really well. And then now we're gonna do reads. So kyo, I, ko, kai, ta. Wait, is ta? Okay. My die. Be. Hai. Zu. Koe. Dai. Sha. Kaku. Kaku. Tani. Mugi. Hayashi. Ku. Kusa. On. Okay. And we're done. That's it. No mistakes today, so that's perfectly fine. Alright. So now we're heading off to Hanzahiro. So this is our end of our Japanese session with WaniKani and Japanese. We're gonna keep moving forward because tonight we get to play Like a Dragon 8 in Chinese. And I do have to do an introduction and whatnot. We're gonna have a late night. It's almost time for the next game. How long do we have left? It's almost within a week for the next game. Alright, folks. Thanks for hanging out. If you're only interested in Japanese and if you're gonna watch this later, arigatou gozaimasu. Right? Aras, minasan. Matane, jane. I'm gonna get up and take a quick bathroom break, and I'll be back. Maybe fill up some water. I'll be back with Hanzahiro. Thank you. Yes, hajimemashite. Nico-san.